Okay, people. It is August 17th, Uncle John's birthday. Here's the thing. This is to do with this Get Off My Internet website that likes to obviously harbor white-collar criminals, right? That hide behind fake usernames and have an agenda to protect the Duncan clan. Personally, I think whoever is posting on there signed up and, well, they did. They started posting on in regards to New Nations Unity, which is a federal trademark that they don't have the right to use, people, to promote their website. Just pointing that out. Now, I talked to the trademark agent that has been with me all these years, and she's basically retired and said that for litigation, it's very drawn out and it can be very expensive. And because she's retired, right, she's not up for that. And she hasn't done it for years. So if the owner of this GOMI is wondering why I'm not following up with litigation at this point, it's just for the fact that the trademark agent that's been with me since the year 2000 doesn't want to take on the task of suing this person and their company, which isn't, it's a registered company of some kind, but you can't locate a legitimate business address because she hides behind a message board. And if you Google GOMI, and for the blog part of it, not some Japanese company, but, Get Off My Internet, you'll find that other people have tried to take her to court, and she has a long history of slandering individuals, or if not her membership does. Because it's a hate site, people. That's basically what it is. They're racist people that spew hate. And they attract people like the Duncan clan that hide behind false allegations and insinuendos and creep hospital halls looking for vulnerable families that they can exploit because they're in positions of authority, right? They're social workers, they're nurses, they're physiotherapists, they're the ones that wipe the ass on the old people because they don't want to help take them to the toilet, so they prefer to keep them in the diaper, those kind of people, right? They have to keep the status quo, right? And, they got to protect their jobs, right? And they have to protect their pension plans, and, they have to please their, government employer, and, they have to fill the quota and make sure that they get so many people into these care homes. And Uncle John was just a sacrificial lamb. But the thing about Uncle John, though, is, people, you see, Joan died in 2013, and more than likely she had a life insurance policy, and more than likely she probably had one, because she had some serious mental health issues. She was going in and out of mental institutions for years. Are you listening to me? Mental institutions. She had shock therapy. She went through all kinds of crazy crap, right, in terms of her mental health. Watch the camera, Andre. And, almost for the whole time that I knew her, she didn't work because she was going in and out of mental institutions and whatnot, right? And, what do you call it? But I'm pretty sure for all the money that she was spending, she was probably spending it on life insurance policies, minus her superannuation, which was a given, right? Until the age of 65. She died at 68, so she wasn't paying into her life insurance policy until she hit age 65, because that's when the cutoff was for the provincial government, right? That's why John didn't have one, because as soon as he turned 65, it was either you carry on with the payments or we're going to cut it off. He chose to cut it off. So that's why when I phoned up his family and told him that he was in the hospital, the first thing that came out of their mouth, kind of like the social worker, is, well, where's the money? Doesn't he have superannuation life insurance policy? That's what John's 99-year-old mother was asking me on the phone, as I'm telling her that John's in the hospital and I don't know what's going to happen, and it might be a good idea for somebody from Victoria to come over and see him just in case he dies. Well, the mother, the 99-year-old mother, is, well, where's his superannuation life insurance policy? Are you his common law wife? And I'm like, excuse me? I'm his stepdaughter, right? Joan only lived here for 4 years. John only called me his daughter. John only called the kids his grandkids. John only called Andre his great-grandson. My daughters took John to Victoria. My daughters stayed with Joan and John in Joan's assisted care living when John couldn't go on his own. He had to have assistance to go there. In 2014, Tisha, shut up! Tisha! Lower your voice! She's over. I'm talking on a video! Be quiet! I'm trying to talk over her. She's on the phone out there in the back, right? So anyway, in 2014, have documented proof that my youngest daughter, took John to Victoria, because they're trying to say, oh, they never brought John to Victoria in 2014. That's bullshit, because my daughter was working in McDonald's and used her own money to go to Victoria because we were so broke, right? And they housed her. But the thing is, Joan died in 2013. And more than likely, I can almost guarantee you, 95%, Joan had some form of life insurance policy, if not more than one. Okay, if not more than one. And Joan didn't like me because Joan couldn't do the things that I could do, people. Right? When somebody is spiteful and jealous, what do? They conspire against you. So I'm pretty sure Joan was conspiring against me, right? Well, she was. She was coming upstairs. She was poking through my stuff. She was stealing. She was trying to break in through the front when I was downstairs. It got to the point where I couldn't have her upstairs anymore, people, because I couldn't trust her not to go through my stuff. She was going through my papers. She was stealing my stuff. Okay, because that was her sense of control, because she had no sense of control. She was a bulimic, anorexic, 15 psychotic pills later, in and out of mental institutions with shock therapy and all this crap. This is what I looked after for 3 years because Uncle John didn't want Auntie Joan to be by herself in her last days. The Duncan clan never helped with any of that. But the minute she died, John and I, we didn't have any money. But we were going back and forth anyway as best as we could because she was dying, right? And so anyway, he was there. He held her hand the night she died, blah, blah, blah. Like I said before, I was working in the lunchroom on the nonprofit books as Uncle John was saying goodbye to his wife. And then she died. And, the Duncan clan had completely closed her account. Because prior to her dying, she wanted me to go to her bank and do some banking for her, because at this point she couldn't even get out of bed. So I went to the bank and took out whatever it was, $40, $60, $100, I don't remember. Gave her money because she was giving money to the staff, right? She gave us a little bit of money for gas because we were going back and forth so much, right? Before she died. And then she died, and then like 2 days later, a day and a half later, people, it's like these care ward people, they just packed up her shit, phoned up John and I and said, come get her stuff now, because we want to put somebody else in her room. So, like, we had no money, right? And so Duncan clan locked out the account, right? Because I said, well, John, we're here. Here's your purse. Maybe we should try and get a little bit of money for gas, right? But when we went to the bank, the Duncan clan had froze her account. So that was all pre-planned, people. And then they shipped her body to Victoria, and they buried her. And this, by the time her funeral her funeral, the wake or what, it was on December 22nd. It was full of snow, right? Nobody offered to come and pick up John. We asked if John's brother, who's up in the mountains over here, that drives through Vancouver, hops on a ferry, and then goes to Victoria, if they could pick up John, right? To pick up John so that he could go to the funeral. But no, the brother didn't want to pick up John. The brother didn't want to pick up Joan's stuff because we said, come and get some of Joan's stuff, right? Nobody wanted nothing to do with Joan's stuff. They told John to throw it out. Throw out everything. Pictures from when Debbie, the adopted child, was a little teeny weeny baby. All of it, right? They didn't want any of it. Throw it all out. Because they got what they wanted. They got the dead body with the life insurance policy. That's what they got. And then, of course, they didn't tell John anything about it, right? And it really disturbed him for, like, the whole time because they never talked about how she died, even though we kind of knew how she died. And, nothing. They never read her will to him. Nothing. They didn't tell her nothing. Tell him nothing. They kept it hidden from him, people. That's what they did. And of course, we didn't push it because, we were just doing our stuff, right? We didn't, whatever. I guess Joan died, right? Joan died, and whatever, And my daughter took him to Victoria in July of 2014, which would have been about 6 months after she died. So for this, where the video with the niece saying, "Oh, well, you never brought John," and and blah, blah, it's a bunch of crock people. It's a fucking lie. John was there. 6 months into the game, they still, if she left him a life insurance policy and they left him a little bit of money in there, they purposely, on purpose, chose not to tell him, which is fraud, people. That's fraud. That's why when I phoned up on January 15th or 13th or whatever it was of 2015, and I was talking to his 99-year-old mother, and she was saying, "Where's his life insurance for superannuation? Are you his common law wife?" Because she fucking knew. She knew something was up, okay, in terms of what the family was doing. And they were trying to wipe me out even before they were knowing how John was. Are you his common law wife? Why would you ask me this question 30 years later? Like, why? When, for your 99th birthday, my daughter took John to see his mom on her 99th birthday, and then 6 months later, she's asking me on the phone as I'm trying to tell her that her son is in the hospital if I'm his common law wife, and where is the life insurance policy? Then John's in the hospital. I meet the social worker within the week of him being in there. And the first thing that comes out of her mouth, the very first thing that comes out of her mouth is not, "How are you feeling? How are the kids feeling? Is everybody okay?" Like what a real social worker is supposed to do. None of those questions. The first question that came out of her mouth was, "Who has power of attorney? Who has control of John's money?" And I'm like, "Well, what do you mean? Like how's John? Like, why would that matter at this point? Like, is John better? Can John come home? Well, no, we think he needs to go to convalescent care, and we need to know who has power of attorney." And I'm like, "Well, I do." "Well, we need you to sign this so that we can send him to convalescent care." And I'm like, "Well, hold on a minute. I haven't even spoken to John about it yet." And then it was on from there, people. The game was on from there because the Duncan clan had already fucking phoned in there and said, "Look, this is probably what they said. Joan Duncan left him some money in 2013. We didn't tell him about it, because Judy has been like, whatever, all these fucking years, even though I looked after fucking Joan, right? She lived in my house for 3 years. I took John back and forth. The kids took John back and forth. The kids used to take John on the bus, on those little handy darts, go visit Joan when I didn't have my car on the road. So even when I didn't have my car on the road, John was still going in the handy dart with the girls to the care home to go visit Joan, because that was the right thing to do. And they were plotting, people. They were plotting. That's why everything's so private. If you watch those few little videos, oh, it's private. Yeah, private that you're committing white-collar crime and you committed fraud. And that's why I'm not being charged, people, because if they fucking charged me with elderly abuse, all this shit would come out and they would be the ones charged with fucking fraud. You don't hold somebody's inheritance for over a year and not tell them until they're practically on their fucking deathbed, and then you dope them up to keep them fucking sick and lethargic where they can't get up and move and walk away. Well, we've got the people that did this flaunting a different side of the story on Get Off My Internet to distract away from the real truth of the matter, because they know that I'm overwhelmed with the bills, I'm overwhelmed with the yard, they sick the city on me, they've sick social workers on me, they've tried to get me kicked out of the house, they've tried to have me lose my grandson, because they don't want to get caught, people. So the more they can derail me, the more they can depress me, the more they can scare me, the more they can frighten me, the more they can intimidate me, the more they can spread lies about me, the more protection it gives them to get away with what they've done to John and the rest of the family. His family, us. Not his greedy sisters, not his greedy mother at 100 years old. Well, where's the life insurance policy? Are you his common law wife? Because God forbid if you are, because we don't want to share half of it. We want it all. Are you listening to this, people? When it goes to court, that's what's coming out in fucking court. That is what's coming out in fucking court. How are they going to explain that one? That's why it's not in court, because they don't want to explain it, people. It's like a crack addict. They get high off the money, people. They were breathing like, running like the water with the crack, right? You know, fucking those guys that shoot up crack in their veins and stuff. As soon as they turn on the water, they get fucking high. Life insurance policy, superannuation, government employee. Oh, the heart just starts going like this. Right? Just starts going like this. They were fucking tweaking over that money. Everything became private. Private life insurance policy that's been sitting there for a fucking year that they never told John about. And now they've got the audacity to sit up there and phone up banks and say, well, John was a retard in the year 2000. Well, if he was such a fucking retard in the year 2000, why didn't they come and rescue him then? Because you know why? He would have told him this. Fuck you. That's what he would have told him. I have him on video. With those social worker, that social worker and that little nurse thing and that little, you know, what was it, February 17th, 3 days before they took him because they got fucking scared. They got fucking scared. That's why they took him on February 20th, but they were planning on taking him anyway. Right? Social worker picked the fight before the kids showed up, before I showed up. Because they knew what they were going to do. And John said, I have it on fucking video, what did I do wrong? He asked the social worker what he did wrong to be treated the way he was being treated by those people working at that temporary care ward, and how they were trying to force him to go live with his sister. There's a difference between going over and visiting compared to live. You see, they needed him over there, though, to live, so that they could take over his money. And the minute they took him, they did that, people. They did that. And John hasn't been heard from since, except for that one day when I got to talk to him on the phone for 1 minute. As I am being gaslighted, gang-stalked, harassed, slandered, all kinds of crazy crap, which at some point will be investigated. So the owner of this website, I've already requested for her to take down this fucking thread. Okay? And she needs to really consider it, because my kids are black. Okay? Obviously, the Duncan clan is a very racist fucking entity. Because, one, they come from the Catholic Church and they don't like Native people. They come from Port Alberni. Okay? Port Alberni, where the residential schools are, where there's children buried under the ground. And the provincial and the federal government won't let nobody go in there and dig it up. Because they don't want the truth to come out. What was going on? And John's family lived just, a few blocks away. A few blocks away. And they never did anything to stop it. As the children were being starved. As the children were being used as science experiments. As the children were being murdered. And then their bodies hidden away through the Catholic Church. Denying the natives the right to go into the Catholic Church. Because they were so fucking racist. Well, this is what GOMI is. It's a racist fucking hate site. That's what it is. That's what it is. Because they have allowed the Duncan clan to infiltrate with the rest of those sickos. Because that's what they are. They're sick people. Sick people. So they got me going. But that's okay. Because it's just going to be evidence in court. That's all it's going to be. It just makes my case more stronger. Really, bring it on! Okay, so this is August 16th, 2016. Before I put this away, I'm starting to label things. As you can see, it's starting to move around. Okay, I need to move this off the table to get ready for the next batch coming in, because that's what's going to happen. I'm going to do another little video. I'm going to try and do it on a wipeout board. And we're going to talk about who likes... Hold on a minute.